With my fellow Kristina Pranjić here, we summoned some students of arts and sciences, BA, MA, and PhD, and we made a video that you will about to see. However, there's a couple of other things I want to speak about. Symbiosis is a transaction, both in physical and factual terms, scientifically, and arguably in symbolical terms in the artistic sense. We want to also mention different combinations of art science and human tree relationships and consider trees as oldest, biggest, most globally spread life forms. Foreign to humans. Okay. I see this is my old slideshow, even though I refreshed it. Then I'll just improvise. There was a new slide document that we uploaded, if it's possible to see it. If not, then let's just continue with the old slides. Nope. Let's continue with the old slides, thank you. The previous ones. Looking across the art-science nexus, we believe to have started discovering an emerging symbiotic mutualism that goes against mere interspecies tolerance of the post-human perspective. Some of you might agree that these new perspectives on symbiosis were convincingly condensed in the concept of cosmopolitics by Isabel Stengers, who was already mentioned here. She clearly argues against mere interspecies tolerance and foreign ecology of practices. Stengers explores the discordant landscape of knowledge derived from modern science. She claims tolerance to be a fundamentally condescending attitude that prevents those worldviews that challenge dominant explanatory systems from being taken seriously. Instead of tolerance, her cosmopolitics concept rejects politics as a universal category and calls for modern scientific practices to peacefully coexist with other forms of knowledge. Therefore, different combinations of art science and human tree relationships shall be revealed in the following 15 minutes along the treatment of one primary and four, let's call them secondary cases, of sci-artistic practice all revolving around trees, as oldest, as we said, biggest, most globally spread life forms, still quite foreign to humans, or so we argue. You will obviously not see the entire video we produced, but there are basically screenshots from the video, so you will see some stills. And you can, of course, see the video then through the Vimeo link. It's all in the article and so on. Taming the Forest is an ongoing interdisciplinary project. For 2 years now, it has been chartering a crossfield among bioeconomy, cultural history, policy, and art or artivism. In the context of this contribution, it acts as the case for researching the conflicting narratives of history and economy about biodiversity in general, and specifically on forests that represent a most massive entity of manifold exchange, and thus a field of inevitable symbiosis with humans as well. I would probably need to speak about the video or the group or the project just a little bit to describe it. We took BA, MA, and PhD students of arts and sciences, both cultural history, animation, intermedia arts, and we let the topic emerge, and we were trying to work on shoulder level, not being mentors or teachers to them, and of course letting the topic teach us back, which in the year 2022 became the relationship between a tree and a forest. Of course they were researching each their own topic, but the forest seemed to be our common denominator, so we kindly asked the European Commission's Joint Research Center to send us in their top-level researcher on bioeconomy, who was researching forests. Matteo Visari is his name. And we spoke with him and to him, and read hardcore natural sciences, bioeconomy articles, resources, looked at artworks, took in history, which one of our students was particularly researching. We took a very concrete local forest with its history, it's the forest's current status, both alive and then later on, a year later, this forest actually burned. So it was it became quite an issue of a memory. At the end of the day, we came out with the video, with several other artistic forms, with a scientific paper by a student, with a sounding intermedia multimedia performance at an art festival, with another article like this one, and so on. So this can make you imagine the product or the process as well. Now let me try to put it into the context of, well, 4 cases. One is Becoming Tree, a grassroots community creating, sharing, and documenting close entanglement with trees. And barefoot technology, as was put forward by this great platform initiative. Oh, there's 2 more slides missing because they were in the refreshed thing. Again, I can only call you to check out Becoming Tree if you don't know it. You can imagine a Corona situation, everyone on their Zooms, but 20, 30, and up to 100 people performing each their own body art, performance, meditation piece with and toward a specific tree, all connected in a Zoom situation. A lot of, I think, hundreds of spectators as well, who actually bought tickets for that, and the money went to plant trees, to make it very short and simple. The other case is Plant Portation by Olena Kasparovic and Brida Intermedia Trio from Slovenia, which is where we come from, so University of Nova Gorica, Slovenia. It's on the border to Italy. And Olena Kasparovic, at that time coming from a very peaceful Ukraine, it was 2019, and she brought a lot of plants from Ukraine, and she let us care for the plants. So she distributed the Ukrainian plants to Slovenians and Italians across the border, who took them over and planted them in their gardens, signing a pledge to care for them, while the artistic trio, Brida, actually took care to transport them back, but in artistic terms, both via speculative artworks as well as via very concrete intermedia experiments. Of course, no plants were actually transplanted in telematic terms, physically at least, but there were interesting interim results, which you can also check on their websites, since my slides are not there. Jumping over to case number 3, highly topical, I would dare say, and scientifically well-founded case of artistic research into trans-species individuation, which brings me to the focal point of the subtitle of the contribution, which is Symbiotic Mutualism as an Artistic Act. So Agnes Meyer-Brandes, Project One Tree ID, How to Become a Tree for Another Tree, gathers the volatile organic compounds, VOCs, of a selected tree and synthesizes them into a perfume that the visitors can apply to their body, and with this speculatively enter non-verbal communication between, that was Agnes Meyer, the human and the plant entity. Similarly to humans, and in fact all living beings, every individual tree features a characteristic VOC print as a distinctive olfactory identity with which plants can be differentiated from each other, both by scientific tools as well as by their own sensory apparatus. So, based on the spectral chromatography, molecular quantities were defined closely in a collaboration between an art gallery and the Slovenian National Science Institute. Yet, regardless of the extremely demanding biotechnological methods, the volatile molecules could not be precisely measured in order to synthesize the individual smell of the concrete katsura tree, also known as the caramel tree, that moved between the science laboratory and the art gallery premises from spring to autumn 2022. So the tree was actually physically moved to and fro from the art gallery to the science lab and back. A professional perfumer was therefore brought in to help define the scents more precisely, upon which the art science team merged the machine-gathered and sensory data into distinct perfumes of root cloud, tree trunk cloud, and tree top cloud, which were eventually synthesized to the One Tree ID perfume. Terra Zero, you might have heard of, as the last comprehensive example of an artistic practice that radically questions the relationship between a technologically extended human and natural ecosystem. This collective has since 2018 been building various prototype environments that are based on the decentralized peer-to-peer blockchain platform Ethereum, which aims to provide automated frameworks for the resilience of a given ecosystem. Terra Zero create technologically augmented ecosystems that are both more resilient and more capable of operating within a predetermined set of rules in the economic sphere as independent agents. For example, the forest independently mines cryptocurrency and decides how it will change its material base. The group believes that modern technologies such as remote sensing and machine learning provide an opportunity to rethink existing inefficient governance and regulatory structures. Moreover, Terra Zero also seemed to suggest how, with appropriate art thinking and speculative design-based assumptions and interventions, these could play a key role in creating a sustainable, resilient, and biodiverse future. Along the line of aforementioned cosmopolitics, the dominance of the human explanatory and decision-making system that dedicates natural resources within an anthropocentric economy of both material, financial, and symbolic orders is juxtaposed by a radical scenario of self-governance of the analog, networked forest, supported by, indeed, human-developed digital network technologies. This was still Terra Zero. And now, by way of conclusion, this is some potentially relevant references from the paper. There are many more there. We hope to have managed presenting different kinds as well as different grades of symbiotic relationships reflected in artistic works and the research these are based on, such that is combined from different blends of scientific and artistic tools and methodologies. Not only individual trees standing, growing, or indeed performing vis-à-vis humans, but also forests as multitudes of trees, may be the most complete metaphor for both a process and a phenomenon of growth. A growth that is systematically and systemically orchestrated, circular and long-term balanced among different stakeholders and their types of information or their types of energy, processing that in order to bear both ethical and aesthetical positive value must be kept in a dynamic and polyphonic dialogue between body and space, be it electronic or physical. The Taming the Forest project poetically boiled down, the student project I mentioned at the beginning, poetically boiled down to a chorus of 3 imperatives echoing throughout the audio narrative within the video that you didn't see or hear, so let me repeat them. Rewire art science, demystify nature, resettle forest. Even back then, also an entity of artificial intelligence was helping us to both depict as well as write these poetic lines. Along with the 4 above presented secondary cases of media art manifesting different forms of symbiotic mutualism, it might be claimed that the forest eventually emerged as a new kind of metaphor for a self-regulating system that the human or the humankind should probably think twice before considering to have understood by any form of human or own knowledge, either by technology or policy, let alone aesthetics or ethics. The need for a radically new sensibility and complex knowledge appreciation thus becomes evident, moving beyond objective study and becoming attentive to different dimensions of research and its outputs that emerge through the introduction of artistic thinking as well as interspecies transactions on equal terms. Merci. Thank you.